Have you ever noticed that time seems to go faster as you get older? When you were a kid, summer holidays lasted forever, and now, in a blink, it's New Year's Eve again. As we grow up, our perception of time changes. You are no longer waiting impatiently for your birthday to arrive because deep down you know that another year means getting closer to old age. So, why does time seem to pass so quickly now? What is taking our time? Is reality playing some kind of trick on us? We'll investigate these questions further in today's video. But before we do, be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Let's get into it. Our brain steals time. You might not believe this, but according to researchers from the University of Minnesota, every time you form a new memory, it takes up some of your time. You can't even realize that it's happening. The study states that the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain responsible for memory, uses up some of our brain power every time you store a new memory. So it follows that people with larger memories use up more brain power than those who have fewer memories. So does this mean that time passes faster for people with bigger brains? Surprisingly, the answer is no. Despite what common sense would dictate, the study shows that it's actually the other way around. People with smaller brains experience the loss of time more acutely. This is because when you have less brain matter, the brain has to work harder for simple things, like remembering where you left your keys or what you did yesterday. So those with smaller brains feel the effects of time passing more strongly than those with large brains. The study notes that people with larger brains don't really notice the passage of time because their brain's working at full capacity all the time, and it's very difficult to notice any change. Infancy makes time slow. Now, this one might seem pretty obvious. Take babies, for example. It seems like they're always crying. That's because they need constant care. You have to feed them at regular intervals, change their diapers, and soothe them whenever they cry. In fact, research shows that babies cry around 2 hours a day on average, which is why it feels like time slows down significantly. And if you're a new parent, you're probably thinking, yeah, right, 2 hours a day. Babies seem to cry much more than that. Well, in a way they do. Study author Dr. Ronald L. Davis said that the reason parents lose track of time when taking care of their babies is because the baby requires their undivided attention all the time. Since you're busy taking care of the baby and doing everything for them, you don't really pay attention to anything else going on around you. If you were to stop and take a good look at the clock, you'd see that time is passing normally. However, since your attention is fully dedicated to the baby, it seems as if time is slowing down. Interestingly, the same thing happens when you retire. When you're young and busy, it seems like time goes by fast because you're constantly preoccupied with your work. After you retire, however, you find yourself at home with nothing to do, which means you start to notice the passage of time more keenly. Time travel may be possible after all. If you've ever watched the movie Interstellar, you'll remember the scene where Matthew McConaughey and his daughter discuss time. His daughter asks him how long he thinks he'll be gone, and her father replies, "Time is a flat circle." In the movie, this means that time travel is real. And although scientists haven't discovered any proof that time travelers are running around among us, the statement that time is a flat circle does hold some truth. According to Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, time is relative, and it depends on your frame of reference. It doesn't have a life of its own, and only exists to coordinate events in space. This means that time is a human invention, and there's nothing out there called the flow of time. So, if time isn't real, then why does it seem to be passing all the time? There's a theory about this too. Scientists think that we experience the flow of time because our memories aren't evenly distributed. Instead, they occur in a chain where each event is linked to the one that came before it. We don't notice this chain because we think of our memories as individual dots. But if you were to look at those dots on a graph, you'd see that they lie on a line. Scientists call this line the arrow of time. It points in the direction of cause and effect. So basically, you could say that the arrow of time is what gives the illusion that time is passing. We don't have absolute time. Imagine you're inside a spaceship that's traveling at the speed of light. If you turned on a clock, it would tell you that you've been traveling for just 1 hour. But once you stepped off the ship, you'd realize that over 30 years have passed on Earth. Why does this happen? The answer lies in the second postulate of special relativity. It states that the speed of light in a vacuum is the same for all observers. So when you're in a spaceship moving at the speed of light, time stops. In other words, you stop aging, and the faster you move, the slower time goes. And when you come back to Earth, you realize that a lot of time has passed. This is exactly what happened to the astronauts of the Apollo 11 mission. When they returned to Earth after visiting the Moon, they had only been gone for 8 days, but they had actually traveled at a speed of 40,000 miles per hour. At this speed, time slows down by a factor of 7. So although they'd only experienced 8 days, more than a week had passed on Earth. The opposite also applies. If you were to visit a place where gravity is stronger, time would pass faster for you than it would for someone who stays put. So the next time you feel like time is passing fast, just remember that there's no such thing as absolute time. And what you think is happening to you may be happening to someone else as well. You're experiencing survivor bias. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to live longer than others? Surely genetics play a role, but so does something called survivor bias. Survivor bias occurs when you judge something based on who survives. For example, let's say you're talking to 2 people and both of them share their opinions on who should be the President of the United States. Let's assume that one person knows absolutely nothing about politics, yet their opinion is just as valid as the person who's well informed. A researcher who's listening to the conversation might assume that the person who knows nothing about politics won't survive the upcoming election, so their opinion isn't worth considering. But the problem with this type of reasoning is that it's based on incorrect assumptions. There's no guarantee that the uninformed person won't be elected. This is called survivor bias. Now, applying this to the question of longevity, studies show that people who reach the age of 80 or 90 have likely done something right in their lives to survive this long. For example, they may have a strong support system, a positive mindset, or they may avoid risky behavior. All of these things increase a person's chances of living longer. So if you want to live longer, keep these factors in mind. Just remember that survivor bias might be slowing down time for you. Want to stay up to date on all our new videos? Click here to subscribe and never miss an upload. Time to test your knowledge. You've watched the video, but do you remember what was discussed? Try answering the following multiple-choice questions. Which of the following parts of the brain is responsible for memory? What is the approximate number of hours a baby cries in a day? According to the theory of relativity, what is the speed of light in a vacuum? How do you call the mental state of being overly optimistic and positive? What increases your chances of living a longer life? If you answered the following, you'd get a perfect score. Congratulations. You're a true expert when it comes to this topic. It's amazing how our perception of time changes as we grow older. What seemed like an endless vacation when you were young becomes a month-long holiday in adulthood. And before you know it, you're already feeling nostalgic about it. These videos gave you some insight into why that happens. Do you still think time is real, or is it just a human invention? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button for more videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.